You're in the moment where silence stretches longer than it should. You've already sent the message. Then another. You check the time. You check yourself. Your chest tightens, not from desire, but from exposure. You feel it before you name it. The subtle loss of balance. The sense that you're leaning forward while something unseen leans back. You replay what you did, what you said, how quickly you moved. You tell yourself it's enthusiasm. That effort is attractive. That showing up fully proves confidence. But something inside you knows that's not what's happening. Your availability is no longer neutral. It's loud. Your energy is no longer calm. It's reaching. And the more you try to stabilize the moment, the more it slips. You notice the shift too late. Responses shorten. Warmth cools. Interest becomes polite instead of charged. Nothing dramatic happens. No rejection. Just a quiet redistribution of control. You feel yourself compensating, adding more, explaining more, offering more, trying harder to restore something that vanished the moment you started chasing it. This is the discomfort no one warns you about. The moment effort turns visible. When intention stops mattering and perception takes over. When attraction stops responding to what you feel and starts responding to how you regulate yourself. You haven't lost anything yet, but you can feel the ground tilting. And for the first time, you sense that what's slipping away isn't interest. It's authority. You were taught a clean story. That trying hard is noble. That effort proves sincerity. That showing more means caring more. And caring more should be rewarded. You absorbed it early. Be available. Be consistent. Be reassuring. Don't hold back. So you did exactly that. You leaned in. You clarified intentions. You removed ambiguity. You made yourself easy to read, easy to reach, easy to rely on. And what were you promised? Connection, appreciation, reciprocity, security. But that isn't what happened. Instead, the temperature dropped. The dynamic flattened. Interest didn't grow. It stabilized, then decayed. Not because you did something wrong. Because reality doesn't reward virtue. It rewards alignment. You believed that being good would protect you. That clarity would build trust. That consistency would generate desire. But psychology is indifferent to morality. Attraction doesn't evaluate effort the way your conscience does. It responds to signals. And the signal you sent wasn't care. It was imbalance. You invested more than was asked. You explained more than was required. You showed more than the moment earned. And the system responded exactly as it always does. Predictability replaced tension. Availability replaced curiosity. Stability replaced gravity. No one punished you intentionally. There was no cruelty involved. Just a quiet correction by human perception. Nature doesn't ask why you overextended. It only registers that you did. And once effort becomes visible need, the exchange changes. Not because people are evil, but because systems don't reward intention-only position. There's a reason certain ideas are kept at a distance. Not because they're false, but because they're uncomfortable. Centuries ago, a political thinker observed something most people still resist. Power doesn't respond to goodness. It responds to structure. Machiavelli wasn't teaching cruelty. He was describing perception. How systems react to imbalance. How authority dissolves when it seeks approval. This is why his name is whispered instead of taught. Because he stripped intention out of the equation. He looked at what actually happens, not what should happen. In his view, visible need is a liability. Not morally, strategically. When effort becomes performative, control migrates, not through conflict. Through gravity, psychology follows the same law. The composed center dictates the orbit. The one who regulates themselves becomes the reference point. This isn't about manipulation. It's about alignment with how attention works. How desire responds to uncertainty. How respect tracks emotional containment. Machiavelli understood that power is never announced. The moment it asks to be recognized, it's already weakened. That principle didn't stay in politics. It moved into biology, into economics, into human dynamics. Scarcity increases value. Excess supply collapses it. Not as a judgment, as a function. When you try too hard, you're not failing morally. You're violating a structural law. And laws don't negotiate. They don't care how sincere you were. They only respond to signals that indicate stability, restraint, and self-command. Understanding this doesn't make you cold. It makes you accurate. You're tired in a way that sleep doesn't fix. Not exhausted from effort, but from confusion. You did what you were told would work. You showed up. You stayed consistent. You invested early. And instead of clarity, you got mixed signals. You replay moments in your head, searching for the exact point where momentum died. You wonder if you said too much, if you moved too fast, if you misread something invisible. The frustration isn't rejection, it's the lack of a rule book. You're drained from trying to be right, while reality keeps responding as if you're wrong. From giving more while receiving less. From feeling yourself lose leverage without ever consenting to it. Here's the part rarely spoken. Trying harder doesn't restore balance. It deepens the asymmetry. What you're feeling isn't failure. It's the cost of believing a lie about effort. And the promise here isn't comfort. It's precision, not motivation, orientation. Once you see the mechanism, you can't unsee it. You'll notice how composure alters how people treat you, how restraint changes the tempo of interaction, how silence carries more weight than explanation. This isn't about becoming distant. It's about becoming centered. What follows will dismantle the reflex to overinvest, not through suppression, through understanding. But understand this first. Once you see why effort backfires, you won't be able to perform it unconsciously again. That's the cost and the promise. There are 3 principles, not tips, not tactics, not behaviors you perform to get a reaction. 3 shifts in perception. Each one changes how you regulate yourself before it ever changes how others respond to you. Each one removes a reflex you didn't realize was costing you authority. These are not tricks because tricks require effort. And effort is the very thing that leaks value when it becomes visible. These principles work whether anyone notices them or not, because they operate upstream of behavior. At the level of internal order, you won't be asked to say clever things, or act detached, or pretend not to care. Those are performances. And performance is just need wearing discipline's clothing. What you'll see instead is how attraction functions like an economy. How attention follows gravity, not intention. How restraint creates tension, the way pressure creates energy. Each principle removes something. Excess explanation, excess availability, excess emotional motion. What remains is composure, and composure is not passive. It's controlled stillness. When these shifts integrate, you stop trying to manage outcomes, not because you've given up, but because you've positioned yourself where outcomes adjust to you. People respond differently without knowing why. Not because you changed them, because you stopped leaking urgency. These principles don't make you colder, they make you harder to destabilize. And once that happens, attraction doesn't need to be chased. It organizes itself around what is steady. The first truth is blunt. Value follows containment. What isn't contained disperses. In economics, oversupply collapses price. In physics, uncontrolled energy becomes noise. In human dynamics, unchecked effort dissolves tension. When you overinvest, you think you're building momentum. What you're actually doing is flooding the market. Your old behavior was acceleration. More presence, more reassurance, more availability. You believed consistency would compound interest. But consistency without restraint becomes predictability. And predictability kills curiosity. The new behavior is regulation, not withdrawal. Not silence as a tactic, but measured output. You give when there is demand. You pause when there isn't. You let space do the work effort used to do poorly. People respond differently to this immediately, not consciously, somatically. They feel the shift before they can name it. Your attention stops feeling guaranteed. Your presence gains weight because it isn't constant. This is not about playing scarce. Scarcity performed is still effort, still loud. This is about respecting internal limits, not giving past equilibrium, not filling silence out of anxiety. The discipline here is quiet. You resist the urge to prove, to reassure, to smooth uncertainty. And when you do, tension returns naturally, not because you engineered it, but because you stopped neutralizing it. Containment doesn't create distance. It creates gravity. The second truth is uncomfortable. Mystery isn't created. It's preserved. Once information is released, it cannot be unreleased. In warfare, intelligence leaks collapse advantage. In physics, observation alters the system. In attraction, over-clarity destroys charge. Your old pattern was transparency as reassurance. Explaining intentions, clarifying feelings, reducing ambiguity so nothing could go wrong. But ambiguity is not a flaw in the system. It's the engine. When everything is known, nothing pulls forward. When everything is available, nothing is pursued. The new behavior is restraint of disclosure, not deception, not withholding to manipulate, but allowing time to do its filtering. You stop front-loading meaning. You let curiosity earn access. You allow questions to exist without rushing to answer them. People respond by leaning in, not because you changed tone, because you stopped collapsing the unknown. This is biological. The nervous system orients toward incomplete patterns, toward what isn't resolved. When you explain too much, you close loops prematurely. The system relaxes. Interest settles. Discipline here is tolerance. Tolerance for not being fully understood immediately. Tolerance for not securing certainty. This isn't distance. It's pacing, and pacing maintains charge. Not through effort, through patience. The one who can sit inside uncertainty without soothing, it becomes the reference point. The third truth is the quietest and the most decisive. Control is not in what you do. It's in what you don't react to. In systems theory, stability governs influence. In physics, the still mass bends the field. In leadership, the calm center dictates tempo. Your old behavior was responsiveness as proof. Immediate replies, emotional mirroring. Adjusting yourself to maintain alignment. You believed engagement preserved connection, but excessive responsiveness signals volatility. Movement without pause reveals dependence on feedback. The new behavior is composure, not detachment, not indifference, but emotional self-command. You feel the impulse, and you don't obey it. You allow messages to sit, moments to breathe, your internal state to settle before expression. People respond differently to this because composure reorders hierarchy. The one who regulates themselves becomes the stable node. Others adjust around them unconsciously. This isn't dominance, it's gravity. When you stop reacting, you stop negotiating your worth. Your presence becomes assumed rather than asserted. Discipline here is internal. No one applauds it. No one sees it happening, but they feel it. You're no longer performing balance. You are balanced, and balance doesn't chase. It attracts by existing. None of this is about them. All the principles you've learned, all the restraint, all the pacing, all the composure, none were levers on another person. The real power is internal. Control over self, over impulses, over perception, over reaction. You are not shaping outcomes. You are ordering your own state. In biology, the predator that waits dominates without a fight. In strategy, The general who remains unshaken directs the battle without moving the first soldier. In life, the person who doesn't overextend sets the terms without negotiating them. This is the twist few grasp. Power isn't exercised outward, it's maintained inward. Your old identity sought approval to stabilize worth. You chased, explained, clarified, and overinvested. That was external effort, masquerading as influence. The new identity stabilizes first. Influence follows naturally because unshaken authority attracts alignment. The laws of attention and attraction do not bend to need, they bend to order. And order begins in the mind, the body, and the measured expression of energy. All external outcomes are byproducts. Byproducts of your internal regulation, not your visible struggle. Your discipline is invisible, but its effect is unmistakable. Once you see this, you no longer confuse action with control. You no longer trade urgency for presence. You no longer sacrifice composure to prove care. All that remains is sovereignty. The old version of you is gone. Not because you failed, not because you were broken, but because the framework that supported that version no longer serves you. It's the skin you shed when you stop trying to prove value, the armor that falls when effort is no longer your signal. The old reflexes over investment, reassurance, visible need, they are ashes now. From those ashes, a new authority emerges, not loud, not demanding, not performative. It is quiet. It is unshakable. It is aligned with reality rather than hope. You move through interactions differently, measured, composed, gravitational. The nervous system notices before the conscious mind does. People respond without knowing why. Interest grows not because you engineered it, but because you embody the principle it cannot resist. This birth is irreversible. You cannot unlearn self-command, restraint, and composure. They are integrated. The old urgency is dead. The old imbalance is gone. You are now the center of your own orbit. Everything else adjusts around you. Take a moment and make it real. Declare to yourself, silently or aloud, that you will no longer trade effort for attention, that you will honor your own composure above the need for approval, that you will allow uncertainty to exist without collapsing into motion. This simple acknowledgement is a public commitment to the authority you now carry. Every interaction from this point forward is a test, not of others, but of your sovereignty. And each time you respond from this place, you reinforce the transformation. Keep observing, keep regulating, and watch how the world adjusts around you without conscious manipulation. In the next lesson, we will explore the deeper structures of attraction and influence, the hidden currents that most never see and even fewer understand. Step forward quietly. Let your presence do the work, and remain unshakable.